Hi, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to learn how to make these very cute little felt mice. Here's 3 I made earlier. They're very addictive to make. They're quite simple, and once you know how, I'm sure that you'll have a whole family of mice to play around with. They make really sweet decorations, and my children also love to play with them. So in today's session you're going to learn how to do a blanket stitch to sew up the edge of your mouse. You're going to learn how to sew on buttons, sew on the little ears, and sew on his tail. So let's have a look at what we need to complete this project. You need felt in whichever colour you would like to make your mouse. It can be any colour. You will need some stuffing to stuff your mouse. Now this is optional, but if you like, you can use a little bit of rice or lentils to add some weight to the bottom of your mouse. You will need some buttons. You will need 2 button eyes, maybe even a little decoration if you want to decorate your mouse further. You need a needle to sew your mouse together. Make sure that your needle, the eye, is not too small. You want a nice big eye to make it easier for you to thread your needle. And you will also need a pair of sewing scissors. So let's begin this project. So the next thing we need to do is to cut our piece of felt. So the easiest way to do this is to cut a rectangle from your chosen colour of about 14 centimetres long by about 6 centimetres across. Don't worry about being too precise. And then once you've cut a rectangle with a square top, just round off the top and round off the bottom. You're then going to fold it up and check that the bottom and the top matches. If not, just have a little trim so that it all meets up, top and bottom. Now we only need this one piece of felt to make our mouse, because we're going to fold it up. But to start with, we're going to sew on his eyes. His eyes are going to go 1/3 of a way down. So let's have a look at how we sew the buttons on. You need to thread your needle to be ready to start. You need to choose your buttons. I am going to use 2 yellow buttons today. Now to sew a button on, you bring your needle up from the back. With most needlework projects, you start from the back of your project so that the knot is always behind. Now once you've done that, I'm going to insert the button onto my needle, like that. And then all I'm going to do is go down the second hole of the button. And there we have our first button eye. Now if you want to make sure these are sewn on really well, you could do another couple of stitches in there. Now you can go straight over to the next eye. You can try and get your eyes as straight as possible, or if you want, they could be wonky. Be a unique mouse. So I've gone for 2 matching eyes this time. Go back down the second hole and sew your button on like that. So I now have 2 button eyes. Now turn it over and tie a knot on the back so that your button eyes don't fall off. Now the easiest way I find to tie a knot is to make a fish shape, go through the fish, hold it down and pull. Very important that you hold that bit down so that the knot is flush with the fabric and doesn't rise up. So let's have a look at that again. I'm going to twist like this. I am going to insert the needle through the middle of that. Hold it down with my thumb and pull. Let's cut that and turn it over. And here we have 2 little button eyes. Now my mice also have a little tiny nose. So next we're going to sew on his nose. Now to sew on his nose, you just bring the needle up from the back again. This is a really simple technique. You can use a different colour if you want to. It could be a bright pink nose or a black nose or a yellow nose. And then all you're going to do is a tiny running stitch back down again. So running stitch is a small straight line. So you come up and then back down again. And that's his little nose. And if you want to, you can add whiskers or eyebrows. It's entirely up to you. So then we're going to turn it over and tie another knot. Cut that. And now we have button eyes and a nose. Now I'm going to knot the end of my thread again, ready for the next stage. Make sure you tie a nice big knot so that your needle and thread doesn't pull straight through the fabric. Right, now this funny oblong shape is now going to be folded in half, like this. Now we're going to bring our little mouse alive. This is the exciting part. So I'm going to show you how to stitch a blanket stitch. A blanket stitch is an amazing stitch. Everybody should know it. It looks, it's a lovely decorative stitch to do around little projects like this. It's very therapeutic to do actually, and it's much more simple than it looks. So to start off your blanket stitch, just a little tip, I always start in between my two layers, because that means this edge here can be tucked inside rather than hanging out the back. So now we're ready to start. Hold this together here, and you're going to put the needle through the back and then back up where we started. Now we're going to pull up slowly because we are going to go through the loop and pull. Now we're going to go a stitch length away, like that, through the loop and pull. Go a stitch length away, through the loop and pull. Now ideally you want all your stitches to be the same length apart, because this will make your stitching look neater. But I always say don't worry too much, it's not the end of the world. This is a handmade project, and all the little mistakes and accidental bits just make it look more unique and handmade. So this is the blanket stitch. You can see here that you're beginning to get this lovely edging to your project. So let's show you again. Here we go, up, stitch length away, through the loop and pull. Stitch length away, through the loop and pull. Stitch length away, through the loop and pull. Now you're going to continue doing this blanket stitch all the way round the top of the mouse, and then you're going to stop when you get to about here. Can you guess why? Yeah, that's so we can stuff it. If we don't leave a stuffing hole, you'll have a flat mouse. Now when we have sewn all the way around our mouse, we should have a lovely little pocket here where we're going to stuff him. So you're going to get some fluff. Now you can use recycled stuffing, you don't have to buy it brand new. You can use pillow stuffing or from an old soft toy. You can even use little tiny scraps of fabric. It's a great way to recycle little odds and ends. So you're going to stuff your mouse. Stuff it in there, stuff it into his head first. Leave your needle and thread hanging because it's easier to continue our project after we've stuffed. rather than restarting again. It also means that you have a nice, you can just continue your stitches, which looks much neater than starting it new. So we're going to stuff in our little bit of stuffing. Now the trick with stuffing is I want to just use little bits at a time. Don't just stick one massive wad in, because you'll end up with a funny shape. You just want a little bit at a time, which means you can manipulate it into the shape you want. Right, now you can see here, I have a little gap here, I can get my finger in there. What I'm going to do is put some rice there. Now, really, this would be easy with a funnel, or a tiny spoon. I'm going to stuff some rice in. I love using rice because I think it makes little toys like this much more tactile. So now I have just about enough thread to continue stitching my mouse up, so that all his insides don't fall out. That would be terrible. So I'm going to continue stitching my blanket stitch. Now to finish off my blanket stitch, I'm going to go back through that same stitch and through the loop to make a little knot. Now to hide this thread, a little trick I like to do is to stick my needle back in again, back out, remove the needle, and then cut this here. Oops. Oh look, it's cute, isn't he, so far? So next I'm going to show you how to make this cute little indent up here, which makes it look like it's got two very sweet stumpy little legs. So you need to thread your needle again. Make sure you've got a nice big knot on the end, because we're going to be pulling it quite tight. So that's ready to go. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to, now this looks very painful for the mouse, but it's okay because he's not alive yet, so he won't feel anything. We're going to insert the needle straight up between his legs, and then you're going to carefully start pushing the mouse down so that you can see it coming out through the top of his head. And then you're going to pull the needle. You need to do this bit nice and carefully. Pull the needle like this. And then, that's why we need a nice big knot. And we're going to pull it, which starts making little leg shapes. And I'm going to go back down again. So for our ears, we need to knot our fabric, our cotton again. So we're ready to go. Now for our ears, we need two little squares of felt like this. So I'm going to have pink ears. We have two squares, one on top of the other. I'm going to cut. I'm just going to freehand cut an ear shape like this. I think that's quite a long ear, so I'm going to cut the bottom of it. We have one ear. I'm going to sew that on there. And two ears. Now the best way to sew on his ears are to fold it in half slightly, like this, to give it a cute look. I'll go through like that. That stitch will just keep it in half. Now attach that to the top corner of your mouth. So then I'm going to attach the second ear. I'm going to pinch it closed. I'm going to put the needle through to keep it pinched closed. Like that. Now I'm going to tie a knot again, so his ear doesn't fall off. I'm going to cut that thread. Now our mouse is nearly done, but he is missing one very important feature for a mouse, and that's his long tail. So for his tail, I'll use the remaining thread on my needle. I'm going to tie another big knot on the end of my needle. Now to make his tail, again this looks painful, but I promise it doesn't hurt him yet. You're going to put that up between his legs. So go up there. Then we're going to twist the needle and bring it out through his bottom. Like that. See? And then you can remove your needle. And then he has this lovely tail. Now this is quite a long tail. So I'm going to cut that down a bit. Like that. And I think it's quite important at this stage to cut off the tail at the front. We don't need any extra features. So let's cut that as short as we can. And there we have our sweet little mouse. I'm going to tidy him up a bit by cutting some of these threads at the back. He's ready to join in the mouse gang. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 cute little mice. So I hope that you've enjoyed making these sweet little mice. They make lovely decorations for your home or on your shelf at work, or lovely sweet little toys for older children to play with. You could even take this project further by, you could have a little basket like this, and why not make a little nest. You could make a little nest, couldn't you, for your mice to live in, using some straw or some hay or some grass or bits of fabric. Possibilities are endless. So thank you very much, and I will see you next time for our next crafty project.